What's up, guys? One Piece has been trending recently. The past few weeks have been crazy. The last few manga chapters have been having the community in a buzz. So if you're not reading the manga, I don't know what you're doing. Like, why are you even here?
The hell are you doing out here, Fred? What the hell are you? No! No!
I'm kidding. But seriously though, the anime is on a hiatus, so not sure exactly when it's coming back. It may be coming back this week, next week, not depending on the time this video comes out. It may even really be back. But if you're an anime only, definitely would love for you guys to join us and start reading the manga. I wanted to get into the top 10 moments with the recent moments in the manga really trending and almost breaking the internet at certain points. One Piece was in the news if you guys haven't seen that. But anyways, definitely let's jump into this countdown to the top 10 best moments of One Piece with a few honorable mentions. So without further ado, enjoy.
Starting with number 10, chapter 502, the incident with the Celestial Dragons. So this moment was so ridiculous, and this chapter itself was just pretty much a crazy buildup that I had to make it its own video. So if you guys haven't checked that video out, I definitely recommend that you do. It is called The Darkest Chapter in One Piece. I think I'll probably put a link card here for you to check it out, but I'll briefly summarize it here. So the lead up to this moment was that the Straw Hat's new friend Kami, who had been abducted and was going to be put up for sale in the auction in Sabaody Archipelago. Now the Straw Hats were ready for them to outbid anyone with the amount of money that they had so they can free their friend Kami. When they were outbid, it was definitely a turn of events that I wasn't expecting. But then Luffy busts in and it's like, okay, Luffy's here, so he's probably just going to figure out a way to save her. And then when the scene built up with Hachi trying to stop Luffy from trying to save her and his arms revealing that he was a fishman, the scene turned pretty dark when you see how everyone in the crowd started to react to seeing a fishman, calling him disgusting. Oda really has a way with turning the bad guys and making you actually sympathize with them. When the Celestial Dragon Charlo starts to shoot at him and made things even worse, the look on Luffy's face pretty much said it all about what was about to happen, because we knew that he was about to do what he was not supposed to do. We were told from the moment that we got here, do not mess with the Celestial Dragons because of the wrath that you will incur. But typical Luffy, he doesn't care about any of the consequences. He approaches the Celestial Dragon and he gave him the most satisfying punch in almost all of the entire series. And this situation would snowball to lead the Straw Hats into one of the most climactic situations of their entire series. Number 9, chapter 784, Gear 4th. So this moment was super memorable for me because I remember when Luffy was fighting Doflamingo, one of the first major protagonists in the New World. I was really wondering how Luffy could beat him because it was seeming almost impossible. It was also that after the time skip, we knew that Luffy had gotten a lot stronger from the demonstrations that he made at Sabaody and during Fishman Island. And though it seemed that most of these improvements were all haki based because it seemed like he was better with his observation haki, he was much faster with going into Gear 2 and Gear 3, there were no side effects of Gear 3, and he was also very conscious of how to use Conqueror's haki. And so even with all of these improvements, it still seemed that Luffy would need at least one more upgrade to be able to defeat Doflamingo. And he showed that he was prepared with Gear 4th Bounce Man. Next up, we've got chapter 903, the Fifth Emperor. Now, coming right after their escape from Whole Cake Island, and Luffy not only defeating one but two of Big Mom's sweet generals, Cracker and Katakuri, Luffy and the crew got some major bounty raises, and along with some major clout to go along with it. But this chapter was pretty dope because we also got to see a lot of reactions of characters that we've met on various islands pre and post time skip to this news of the Straw Hats' escape from Whole Cake Island and the decimation that they left there. And the buildup for this was dope because at one moment it seemed as though Luffy's bounty had went down, but that was only because he couldn't read it properly. But right at the end of the chapter, we got to see that 1.5 billion berry bounty, putting him right underneath the bounties of the strongest pirates in the world. Now, don't worry. This is not all going to be about Luffy. So we're actually going to go back pre-time skip for number 7, that being chapter 485, Straw Hats Pirates, Pirate Hunter Zoro. Yeah, y'all know what time it is. So throughout pre-time skip and most of the post-time skip, Zoro was one of my favorite characters, and it's definitely for moments like these. The build-up for this was pretty crazy because the Straw Hats just finished with one of their biggest battles after taking down Gecko Moria, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, and they're pretty much finished. And now enter Bartholomew Kuma, another 7th warlord of the sea, and it pretty much looked hopeless for us. Now enter Zoro. Zoro steps in and tries his best to fight Kuma, and Zoro pretty much shows his resolve that he's willing to give up his dreams in order for his captain and the crew to leave unharmed. Sanji also tries to step in, but Zoro quickly knocks him out, showing that his resolve is a little bit stronger. This is also where I believe we get our first mention of Dr. Vegapunk and the introduction of the Pacifistas. But there are 2 really epic moments in this chapter. The first being when Zoro claims that Luffy will be the king of the pirates and that he's willing to give up his life so that Luffy can continue on chasing that dream. And then the second moment comes when he decides to take on Luffy's pain so that Luffy can continue to survive. And now when Sanji wakes up and he sees that the rest of the crew are all alive and okay, he goes searching for Zoro, and when he finds Zoro covered in blood, he questions Zoro and says, "Are you alive? What happened here? There's so much blood." And Zoro's response is one of the classic of them all, and he says nothing at all. Rereading this nothing happened moment and this chapter in general gave me goosebumps. I think I might make a video on this moment just alone. But anyway, back to the countdown, and with number 6 we've got 2 chapters, 573 and 574, named. The name of this era is Whitebeard, and 574's name is The Death of Portgas D. Ace. So now leading up to this, after the Straw Hats are disassembled at Sabaody, Luffy has his own journey, which he goes from Amazon Lily, hearing about Ace being locked up, then to Impel Down as he tries to save Ace before the execution, and then going to the Marineford War, where we pretty much assumed that Luffy was going to finally save Ace. And now going by One Piece's track record, most people at the time, I believe, including myself when I was watching this, I believed that Luffy was gonna save Ace, because One Piece characters don't die, right? And so now Luffy finally actually does save Ace, and as they're trying to escape, Akainu does some dirty talk and provokes Ace. And then once we see that Ace was distracted, Akainu then goes after Luffy, and now this is when Ace jumps in front of Luffy to save his life, but giving up his own instead. And now this had to be one of the saddest moments in the story, when Ace is talking to Luffy and he tells him, "Thank you for loving me." Garp also gets pretty emotional and tries to go and attack him, but is stopped by Sengoku. And this is also when the rest of the Whitebeard crew rally around Luffy to protect him, as Luffy is broken and can't really believe what's just happened, as his brother just been killed right in front of his face. Alright, number 5. Chapter 907, The Empty Throne. So now this is during the Reverie arc, which to me is one of the best and one of the most hype arcs in the story. Although it's really short, the anime didn't really do it that well, but reading it in the manga is probably one of the best ways to digest it. And this is just reveal after reveal after reveal. So with this chapter being titled The Empty Throne, it starts off with showing us the empty throne. Then we get some more of the Celestial Dragon talk, and then we also reintroduce Rob Lucci as now a member of Cypher Pole Aegis Zero. And then we cap it off with Shanks making a visit to the Gorosei, The Five Elders. This was one of the most mind-boggling moments, and to this day, people are still questioning and wondering why did Shanks go and visit them, to the point where we have some people who believe that maybe Shanks may be evil. And canonically, this is actually the last time that we've seen Shanks in the story, so we're still wondering what he's up to begin with. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention, because this is super satisfying. We get to see that celestial dragon Charlos get hit in the face again. Alright, continuing the countdown, we have number 4, which will be 2 chapters again. Chapter 906, titled The Holy Land of Marie-Joie, and chapter 908, titled The Reverie Begins. Now, the reason why I put these two together is because although 906 did have a lot happening, it was mainly just kind of recapping and showing us a lot of our old friends and a lot of the old people who we met who were leaders of other countries that the Straw Hats have saved are actually now meeting up as they head towards the Reverie. But to me, the biggest part of 906 was the end of it being Doflamingo's great speech and the reveal of Im and the giant straw hat. Now, we didn't know who Imu was until 2 chapters later, which is why I had to include 908. Now, in 908, we have the Reverie beginning, and we also see a character we haven't seen in a while, that being Bartholomew Kuma. Now, unfortunately, it seems as though he's been turned into a slave, and he is being treated terribly. And it also seems that he has some connection with Jewelry Bonnie, which definitely has something to do with the country that they're both from, but we haven't really gotten any follow-up with that just yet. Now, we also check in with Sabo and the commanders of the Revolutionary Army, as though Sabo is very upset about the treatment of their old friend Kuma. And then we see the Gorosei, who we thought up until this point were the highest authority in the world. And they march up over to the empty throne, and then we see Imu, the dark character, walking over and sitting on the empty throne, or at least we thought was supposed to be empty. And now this reveal was huge because it seems as though there really is one person operating in the shadows, completely ruling over the entire world of the One Piece. Now each of these chapters and the arc of Reverie in general sparked so many theories, so many ideas, so many videos throughout the One Piece community that it's definitely were some of the hypest chapters and had to be included in the top 10 moments of all time. Next up, we've got chapter 957, Ultimate. And now at the time of the release of this chapter, it definitely was the ultimate chapter. To me, it was definitely the best at the time, one of the greatest reveals, a whole bunch of reveals I should say. Starting off with the reveal of the Rocks Pirates and the fact that multiple Yonko were all on one crew at one time, it was epic. And it just started to build more and more upon the lore of that is the One Piece story. But understanding that Garp had teamed up with Roger, it just left us so many more questions. We wanted to know why. We wanted to know why was God Valley wiped from history. We wanted to know who else was a part of Rox's crew. We wanted to know more about Rox. And then we got the bounties. As if all of this hype information wasn't enough, Oda decided to drop the bounties of all 4 of the current Yonko, as well as the 2 biggest bounties of all time, that being of Whitebeard and Roger. And that just made us realize, like, wow, Luffy is finally in the category with these caliber of characters, and it just was amazing. It also just helped us to feel like we were finally getting closer to the end of the story, as these were questions that we had ever since we knew what bounties were. Once we started to see the bounties of the bigger characters and the 7 warlords, we always were curious as to what the bounties of the greatest of the greats were, and we finally got that. Number 2, chapter 967, Roger's Adventure. So now throughout Wano, we were already going into Odin's flashback, and we knew that Odin had sailed not only with Whitebeard, but with Goldie Roger as well. But this is definitely not what we were expecting when we were getting Odin's flashback. I never expected to actually go on an adventure with Roger and his crew, and this was epic. Seeing Roger and his crew and his reactions as they travel to a lot of the locations that we've seen our Straw Hats travel to, being Water 7 and Fishman Island and Skypiea, as they were finding the poneglyphs and translating them so they can find the location of Laugh-Tale and the One Piece. It was epic. And as they finally get all of the poneglyphs after traveling to Zou, we've got glimpses of Odin as he's taking notes and writing down every part of their adventure and wondering when are we going to get to find out about the One Piece. And this is the chapter where we see that Roger just laughed when he saw the One Piece. And once again, I remember just getting chills reading this chapter and saying, wow, we're almost there, guys. We're pretty much at the last part of our journey as we're finally wrapping up and getting these last poneglyphs just like Roger was. And we're finally going to get the reveal to what the One Piece is. And as great as it's going to be to get to the end, it's sometimes really sad as we're like, damn, I don't want this to end. So before we wrap this up with the number 1 chapter of all time, I definitely want to give you guys a few honorable mentions. You know, a few chapters that I think are amazing but didn't make it into my top 10. Starting with chapter 81, Tears. So this is the chapter during Arlong Park, when Nami finally decided that she realized that she needed the help of the Straw Hats and was not going to be able to defeat Arlong alone, and she cries out to Luffy for help, and Luffy's like, of course I will. And that moment hits every time, because I know that this arc is actually what gets a lot of fans to actually stick with the story and keep going. Next up, chapter 398, the Declaration of War. And this is the chapter where we wrap up Robin's flashback. Usopp burns the flag, and then we get Robin's epic moment of I want to live, when she's screaming and crying in tears, and the Straw Hats are ready to save her. Next, for another honorable mention, we have chapter 895, and this is the reveal of Snake Man. So during the epic, which is one of the most best fights of the series, Luffy versus Katakuri, we were wondering what Luffy was going to use to finally defeat Katakuri, and he pulls out his epic Snake Man. I didn't want this list to be fully only about Luffy's epic moments of different reveals of power-ups and things like that, so that's why this one didn't make the list. And now before we go on any further, spoiler warnings for anime onlys, because these next 2 honorable mentions and the final one definitely will have a few spoilers. So if you don't want to get spoiled, skip over to this number on the screen, but if not, definitely let's get it going. So chapter 1031, Warrior of Science. Now we open up with the fight that was going on with Big Mom versus Law and Kid, but the biggest part of the chapter for me was actually Sanji's speech. And I feel like this is actually how Sanji's character arc really progressed from Whole Cake Island going forward into the story, and what's really going to develop with his character, if he's really going to be that character that was such a simp and was, you know, going crazy for women all the time. So he was realizing that he may lose himself, and he was willing to do whatever it takes for him to be the best that he could be for the Straw Hat crew. Then he topped it off by finishing off Queen. Next up, we have chapter 1040, Wasted Words on Young Ears. And this is basically where we have the culmination of the fight of Big Mom versus Eustace Captain Kidd and Trafalgar Water D. Law, and how they finally defeated her, or should I say removed her from Onigashima, because I personally believe that Big Mom will be returning into the story, which is why I don't have it as the top 10 as well. But it was a great fight, some great choreography, and I love the way that it ended with Big Mom's speech.
Yeah, guys, so that wraps up the honorable mentions. Now we are on to the number 1 moment, and this is what inspired me to start making this countdown. 1043 and 1044, so we have the reveal of Luffy being Joy Boy, as well as Gear 5. So this is going to be a moment that we're going to be talking about for a while, you know, with One Piece, until we get to maybe the end of the story. As far as the reveal of Luffy's Devil Fruit not being just a rubber fruit, but it being the Hito no Mi Maru Nika, the reveal of Luffy, because we had a moment where we thought Luffy was gonna die in 1044, and then towards the end of the chapter we get the reveal with the smile. Had a talk with my boy Pirate Hunter Anime, so if you haven't checked out my discussion, definitely do that. But this moment, and then coupled with the reveal of Gear 5th and it being the most ridiculous power, man, this is definitely one of the hypest moments, and I'm so happy to be a part of the community, to be enjoying this, and I'm sure you guys are too. It has been a little controversy recently, I've been hearing, especially with the more recent chapters, 1044 and 1045, with Luffy having these Toon-like powers, but that's for another discussion. Gonna continue to enjoy and savor these moments, so definitely let me know what you guys think. Hit that like button if you like this. Let me know what your top One Piece moments are. Let me know if we had any in common. Let me know if there's any you think I missed, or if you want to share your whole top 10. Feel free to do so down in the comments. Appreciate you guys once again. We're gonna keep reaching for these milestones. Hit that 1,000 subscribers this month. And next up is going to be 5,000 is the next milestone. So look out for a new anime channel to be coming soon. I did say once I reached 1,000 subs, I wanted to actually start a new channel. So let me know what you guys want to hear on that new channel. I'll definitely post it in the community tab. But once again, appreciate you guys. It's your boy Gay D Champ.